This is C.L.S. All-in-One, and today I'm going to be doing a tile backsplash in the kitchen. And I'm going to show you how that's done. I'm going to be using a mosaic tile here. It comes in 12 by 12 sheets. And I'm going to be installing it here behind the stove, and I'm going to go all the way up to the range hood here, and go the width of the stove. So let's get started. So I'm going to start with just pulling the stove out of the way. Now we're going to mark exactly where we want the tile to end with a level on the pencil. Now we're going to go ahead and sand the area that we just marked. We're going to stay inside the pencil lines. I'm going to sand that with a 60 grit sandpaper and do the whole area. Now we're going to clean that area we just sanded. I'm going to use some Windex. I like using Windex because it dries fast. Now it's time to apply the grout. This is a grout and adhesive mixed together, so you can use it for both the grout and the adhesive. I'm using an 1/8 inch trowel, and depending on your wall, you may have to use a bigger notch trowel. I just have a flat wall finish, so the 1/8 inch trowel will work just fine. So you want to spread a nice even coat, and be careful not to do too big of an area. This particular adhesive dries at room temperature in about 30 minutes, so you have about 30 minutes of working time. So if you have a big area to do, I would suggest doing sections at a time. Now it's time to install the top row of tile. I'm going to install it in a manner where the finished exposed edge will not be cut. So for the top row tiles here, I'm going to end up cutting the top of them off flush, and then install them like this. I'll be using a tile saw to make this cut. Tile saw is varying prices. This one only costs $50 and it includes the blade. You want to make sure to use some safety glasses also. So a good trick you can do to make the cuts for the mosaic tile is to run tape right where your cut's going to be. Otherwise you'll have problems with the tile wanting to move back and forth on the netting. So now we should be able to make a nice cut without those pieces of tile moving. Without doing this trick, you'd have to hold your hands dangerously close to the blade to keep the pieces from moving. Now it's time to start setting that top row tile. So we're going to line it up with our pencil mark on the one edge and against the range hood on the other edge. And we're going to press it firmly into place, pushing all areas of that tile to ensure it has a good strong bond. Now it's time to put that second piece of tile on. You want to make sure you line up the gaps evenly with that first piece you put on, and be sure to push all areas firmly into place. Here's a look at what we've done so far. Notice the gaps are nice and even between each other on the two pieces of tile there. Now I'm going to start installing the bottom row tile. Notice that there's an overlap on the ends of the tile to keep from having a straight seam going all the way across. And again, being careful to make sure the gaps are nice and even and you press the tile all firmly in place. Now it's time to cut the end pieces for the tile. The tile has a mesh backing that allows you to cut in 1/2 inch increments, so you want to find the closest measurement you can and make your cut there. Now it's time to install the pieces we just cut. So you want to get those both pressed on with the gaps nice and even again. You want to allow 24 hours for the adhesive to cure before applying grout. At first glance it looks pretty good, but if you get up close you notice it needs grout badly. So we're going to use that same adhesive grout mixture. We're going to need a sponge, we're going to need a bucket with some water or a bowl with some water, and a grout applicator. This is a rubber grout float and this works really well. This is what I'd recommend if you're going to get something. So my container is too small for the grout applicator to fit in it, so I'm going to use a putty knife to apply it to the wall first and then spread it with this grout applicator. Be sure to wet your grout applicator first to help the water not stick to it. Now it's time to spread it nice and evenly and make sure that there's no holes visibly anywhere between the tiles. So I do my edges last and make sure to take a little bit more time on them and be careful not to make a bigger mess than needed. The outside edges of the tile are the hardest areas to grout. You'll want to try to get a nice tapered edge that looks similar to this. Drying time of the grout will vary based on different temperatures. Usually anywhere between 15 to 30 minutes it's ready to start wiping off the first time. So I'm using my sponge and a bucket of water, and I'm trying to concentrate just on the surface. You don't want to scrub too hard or you're just going to wipe the grout back off. So we're not fully wiping all the grout off yet, we're just wiping it down to a haze. And I'm going to do my edges very last to allow them to cure a little bit more. And on the top edge here, I decided it'd be easier just to use caulking up there between the range hood and the tile, which we'll be doing later. So on the edges here, your objective is to get a nice tapered edge. So just go nice and gentle here until you get the finish you want. Now you want to give it about 30 minutes before you wipe it off the final time to get rid of the haze. So 30 minutes have passed, so now we're going to wipe it off. So we're going to gently wipe it off again with the sponge to get rid of the haze. And immediately after wiping it with the sponge, you can wipe it with a dry cloth to get rid of any excess moisture. But be very careful not to press too hard or you could damage the grout. Now I'm going to caulk that top edge up there. So you can kind of do this the same way as the grout. We're going to go ahead and fill in the gap there. But now I'm going to spread it with my finger. And then I'm going to wipe it off with a sponge, the excess. Then after wiping it with a sponge, you can wipe it with a dry cloth again, but be careful not to touch the caulking. And here's how the caulking should look after you're done. Now let's take a look at the finished product. Well, thanks for watching. This is C.L.S. All-in-One. If you'd like to hear more from me, please subscribe.